I want to tell us a small story about the foundation of HUSA. Way back in 2019, COVID-19 hit us hard, and there was curfew everywhere in the country. So um, I started thinking, how about those who are very deep down in the village, and I could walk around and reach homes of the elderly, and then reach also homes of mothers with the children without their fathers, and of course also reached some homes of the sick, those who are sick. And when I did the assessment, the most need actually was food. People were suffering. They would not move out to go and do the normal casual work that they would do to earn them some income, then buy food and things to do with that. So I started mobilizing. I think people like Zawahandi Pasco from USA, and then Faith for Think Humanity can bear me witness with this, because it is when they started supporting the community through actually me, where we would buy food, stock it. It was more of a food bank in my home, stock it. And then me, I would get a motorcycle, then reach to homes of these people when actually they didn't know that I was coming. The truth is that what they would respond was tears of appreciation, because you are not expecting something and it is your immediate need. So when I reached, I said, I have brought you food, 20 kilograms of rice, posho, sugar, So, like, first of all, they didn't know me, and but it was, it is a feeling that I always remember. And all they could say, please, God bless you, thank you very much, and all that. So all I would tell them, you know what, you don't have to appreciate me. And this is Humanitarian Services Action, and that is how the name of Humanitarian Services Action came in. From people telling me thank you, and I said, no, don't worry. We are all human. We have to be compassionate. We have to be empathetic, and all that. So that's how HUSA was founded. So while we continued living, I always reflected and said, I remember the children that we found at home. So I also found homes, mostly the homes of single mothers. I found that most of the homes actually they had their husband living alive, but because of gender-based violence, they separated. And I realized that every time GBV happens, a child suffers the more. And so in 2022, I went back to school to pursue social work, and then I learned a lot, contemporary social problems, and of course the social work itself as a profession. And I realized that my work as a social worker would be actually trying to create a solution for the problem. So again, came down, started looking around, what are other people doing. There are a lot of organizations that I don't want to mention their name here, who are doing really good job that nobody was trying to sustain them, including gender-based violence. There were very few organizations that say that we do GBV, which are refugee-led, and then the child protection. And there are a lot of interventions, for example, social-emotional learning, the play-based learning, but they were project-based. They had lifetime. So some projects would come with a very important intervention, but then within 3 years it's closed. But when it is actually catching fire, it's very nice. So I said, no, I think we need to sustain what international organizations are doing. So we draw our programming based on what other refugee-led organizations are not doing, so that we can do, and we have sustained interventions of the international organization. So now we are doing to draw programming around 4 areas, basically, or 5. We do education, we do child protection, we do gender-based violence prevention, we do livelihoods and resilience, then let's do environment and climate action. So ideally, these are things that refugee-led organizations were not doing. So in the end, this is how we came up with our programming. So in the end, also, like in 2024, during my birthday, I had a birthday outreach where I would use whatever I would buy with the cake and meat at home to buy soap and something like that. I said, no, let's go to the community with my family. So we go and distributed whatever we had. So I found so many children left alone at home. The street was increasingly getting a number of children. Then we said, I came back and then said, The only way to protect a child is to get where to gather them, and that is in a school. So we gather them and then educate them to prepare them for the future. So ideally, this is what actually we are all trying to do. So I skipped somewhere how we had to register it in 2023, and since then we have implemented the GBV prevention project, which was funded by UNHCR. We implemented women and youth economic empowerment with the support from a mission that was organized by P40, Mission of Hope, and we have worked with the NRC. So right now we are running a nursery and primary school which has 132 children, but by next year we should be having over 300 children. It's a place where we want to protect them but also prepare them for the future. And this time, having joined African Leadership Academy, I'm now coming up with a new idea which is called the household centered transformative learning model. So we're trying to make sure that we work with the community to reflect and then take action, and then recover before they can sustain education of their own children. So this is what we're doing currently. Yeah, thank you.